Oh, good Lord. So this has taken a bit of time to put together. And if you're watching me right now and listening to this, honestly, thank you so much for making it this far. Hello, heaven, hello, how's it going? So yeah, if you don't know who I am, Scott Tailford used to be head of gaming at WhatCulture.com. I looked the other day how long I was there. And I calculated the dates from I think it was the 7th of October 2013 all the way through to now. And it was like 11 years and 8 months or something, which, yeah, I've been doing that job for a good long while. Thankfully, millions of you have watched over the last decade plus. When we launched the YouTube stuff in 2014, I've been there since the very beginning. The article writing, the news writing, back when we were like a website only business, when we were subsisting off gallery posts, like here's a bunch of screenshots for a movie or a game or something, and then launching the YouTube, launching the podcasts, that insane run that I was lucky enough to be a part of, where we had myself, Josh, Jules, Rach, Ash, Rich, Osley, Ewan, like just an unbelievable run. Eventually, millions of you all seeing me and the gang and everything, and it was great. I was lucky enough to be recognized. I've been recognized tons up and down the UK. I was lucky enough to be recognized in New York City, which blew my mind. And New Orleans, where a dude was like, "I gotta draw you, man. I gotta draw you." Which is just the guy. I've got the piece of art I've got on hanging on my stairwell downstairs. But my point is that I've done the WhatCulture thing for over a decade, and I over time they promoted me. They made me head of gaming. I started taking on a whole bunch of managerial stuff. And it wasn't really where I wanted to be. I thought I'd give it a shot when it was offered to me back in 2022, and I did that for 3 years. I ran stuff for 3 years. More specifically, I was doing bits and pieces of running things before then, but I did it more, rubber stamped kind of thing. Here you go. Here's your budgets and your targets and your spreadsheets and all the what I then found to be unbelievably boring stuff. But I did that alongside. I refused to give up any of the presenting stuff. That's why you still saw me doing news, doing the podcasts, doing the videos when I could in terms of the scripting something, doing the improv lists with Josh or Ewan or whoever I could grab, Sai or whatever. And but still, my ultimate point was that over the last few years, it became very obvious that I am not a manager. I am not a managerial type. I can certainly make decisions. I can help out. I've steered the course of WhatCulture Gaming alongside the rest of the team for a good long while, and I wanted to try something else. So yeah, over the last coming out of the pandemic and then figuring out what the hell WhatCulture even was, a lot of staff changeover, things like that, plowing ahead, and then taking on the managerial stuff, leading to an all-out burnout at the start of this year, or March this year anyway, where I just had way too much going on. Turns out if you have a child in the middle of a bit of a work-life balance crisis anyway, those scales, you throw a child on there, turns out it's a bit hard to balance the waiter who just everything just goes flying for a bit. And then I was off in March. Took me a couple of months to pick up all those pieces and be like, okay, what the hell do I even want to eat off this plate? What do I want to leave? And how the hell is it going to be going forward? And I thought, well, why not steer into the Patreon thing? So so I left WhatCulture, or I have left WhatCulture as head of gaming. And I'll still be popping up every now and then, or there'll be like a bit of a consistency to it depending on how the weeks shake out, but I still want to help the team out. I still love working with Josh and the rest of the team, obviously, and we do awesome podcasts and news, but I wanted to try my own stuff as well. And so going forward, I'm going to have, at least for now, two pillars, but I do have plans on what I want to do after that. The two pillars of me for right now are still gaming, and wrestling. I want to steer into some wrestling stuff because I've enjoyed watching AEW so much across the last few years. I want to do some wrestling stuff and bits and pieces of WWE coverage as well. But still, the gaming stuff, that's going to be called the Just Good Game Show. That'll be once a week. One big podcast, one big meaty podcast, community fueled podcast, where we will delve into what you're all playing. I'll take some of your questions. It'll be a little bit like the Untitled Banter Pod, which I will still be doing for WhatCulture. Like I said, we'll take your questions, take your talking points, but I'll try and get a little bit more in depth on those things because I'll have more time to record it as well. So it'll be a community fueled, positively skewing game show. Part of that, it'll be called the Just Good Game Show, like I said, but part of that will be just good game news. That'll be a hopefully nicely edited YouTube video that will go out every Friday that will focus more specifically on the positive news in the industry, whether that is breakthrough, heartwarming stories that just feel good to know about, whether that is some money off of a particular deal that I've managed to find you that week, or just or maybe an overlooked game of the year so far or the month so far, something I feel like you would benefit knowing about. I'll throw that in there as well. To me, I feel like there's a gap in terms of raw positive coverage of the gaming industry, and I've wanted to do something called Just Good Game News for a good long while. So I thought, why not do that as my one of the pillars of the Patreon stuff. The other one, the wrestling stuff, on YouTube will be called Casual Wrestling Fan. That's a term that I know the wrestling, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not hardcore at all. It's in the title. But a lot of people talk about the casual wrestling fan as a term. You know, do they exist? Is there such a thing? Someone who would just watch the show week to week like a long form TV show, and would just. Have I talking to this, or have I talk? I forget where I've been looking for most of this. Yeah, whether or not there's been, you know, and if there is such a thing as a casual wrestling fan, I thought, well, that's me. I watch it like a TV show week to week. I look at the characters, I look at the plot twists, I look at the general way that it's shot. And I think that's a little bit something else to throw in the mix in terms of talking about, you know, like I said, character arcs and payoffs, and obviously the athleticism, the spots, the really cool stuff that happens, the blood and guts. Eddie Kingston on a walking down a ramp covered in blood with a gas can is pretty cool. And I want to do that stuff. So there's going to be the Casual Wrestling Fan YouTube as well. All of the news that goes out on there, all of the talking points that go out on there will be videos. They'll be free for people to just watch on YouTube. But there'll also be the Title Banter podcast, because I could not resist the pun, having done what is now like 8 years. No, not 8 years, 5 years of the Untitled Banter podcast, alongside Jules and Josh and you. And I was going to say that nearly everybody's been on the UBP at some point. I've done the Untitled Banter podcast for ages, which was a community-fueled podcast where we take people's talking points around gaming. But obviously it's spread off into food and books and life events and whatever the hell we want to talk about, cereal. But I just thought, Untitled Banter podcast, why not make the Title Banter podcast? Because they had titles in the wrestling. They put them on and they win them, and they, you know, won the title. So Title Banter pod will be the wrestling podcast. And that might touch on certain bits and pieces of that will, you know, obviously recap the shows, talk about the biggest talking points in themselves. I really want to take the community side of things, like, in that as much as possible, have a wrestling version of what the Untitled Banter pod is on gaming, and get people's questions each week, you know, predictions for what's going to happen in the storylines, things that we really enjoyed from the shows. You can be more, you know, you can be critical if you want. The gaming stuff is going to skew a little bit more positive in terms of the Just Good Game news, but everything else is just going to be honest, me, the stuff that you know me for, the stuff that hopefully you've enjoyed watching me do for a good few years, and a lot more of that. So gaming stuff and wrestling stuff are what I'm launching with at the minute, alongside bits and pieces of still popping back up on WhatCulture, other freelance projects that I'll still be doing because I'm now available. I'm a free agent, which is cool. It's fun. And then going forward, I do want to do some lifestyle stuff. I do want to do like a dad podcast. I have no idea what it's going to be called, but I do want to do some sort of parent podcast, something like that, because I think just the amount of people that have got in touch, the amount of conversations that I've already had, just as a new parent, like, you know, my kid, excuse me, is just over a year old. And you learn so much, as people will know, and I think that that can be a fun community to sort of to cultivate a little bit as well, because I obviously love talking about this stuff, and so I think going forward it'll be that, and then if it all works out, as I'm recording this, I have no idea whether people care. I have no idea. If enough people care, and if I can make it all work, I can slot everything in per week, then I would love to branch it out and do film and music and TV as well. The way that I used to, way back in the day at WhatCulture, I used to cover everything. Because I obviously have the opinions. And if there's a big enough TV show doing the rounds, chances are I'll be watching it. And if there's a big enough movie, you know, that it punches through and becomes like, you got to see this thing, then I'll be watching that as well. So why not do that? And I've already been in touch with potential hosts for that stuff. I've already been in touch with a bunch of guests to bring it back to the gaming side of things, that I can hopefully bring on. And there's a really special guest that has already said that they'll do it for the wrestling podcast, that I need to bring together once I figure the rest of this stuff out. But it's very exciting. And like I said, as I'm recording this, it's what the hell day is it? So it's exactly a week. It's exactly a week from my last day at WhatCulture full time, because I put the resignation letter in at the start of June, and you got to do a month's notice, so it runs out at the very beginning of July. So my last day is the 2nd of July. So when this goes live, all of that will already be done. Hopefully, all of the artwork will be done for the shows and for the Patreon and all that kind of stuff. The first episode of the Just Good Game stuff will be live, and the wrestling stuff, and all the Patreon goals will be there once I decide how the hell I can even approach monetizing myself. That's the weirdest thing to think about. But I'll hopefully have done that. And some of you as well, I will have been in touch with to be like, hey, what do you think of this? Does this feel like it'll work? From the sort of fan perspective, someone who has known me through a screen, because I've had a lot of feedback from friends and my wife, and I've asked my son, but he's there's only so many things he can get across other than sort of burping every now and then. And but I haven't had that much feedback or any feedback from anyone outside of WhatCulture or close family and friends. So all of that is to say that hopefully all that feedback rolled together gives you something that is remotely good, I hope, anyway. But I'm going to be giving this a shot. I think if this doesn't work out, cool. Like, at some point, I just wanted to give it a go. I feel like a lot of my, personal heroes in this space, the Nextlanders, the Jeff Gersmans, people who I grew up adoring and listening to week to week to week, have now branched off and done the Patreon thing. And I do see the benefits compared to the business ran version of this. I've done the business version of this for a good, for over 10 years, and I've done the corporate big business version of this for the last 3 years. And so I know what those things are. I would like to give something else a shot, and I want to put myself into it. I do have plans for some merch as well. I want to do some Let's Plays. I would like to play through all of the Metal Gears in one go, maybe for charity or something. Things like that, things that the WhatCulture model doesn't necessarily allow for when we have to hit a certain volume of videos a month or a certain amount of money a month. It's just monetized a different way. Patreon, in theory, frees you up to be able to do those things. And considering the response that we've got over the years, whether that's from the podcast or when we do the streams, or the more personality-driven stuff, I obviously always love that stuff. And I thought, why not steer into that entirely and see how it goes? And shout out to Rich Hudson, like ex-WhatCulture alumni, absolute superstar, for helping me out so much with all so far of the artwork and everything. And blessed it, like the amount of feedback that I keep giving him, where I'm like, I don't fully know what I want it to look like, but I think maybe this and this. And then he just fires back incredible stuff. Like I said, all of that stuff will be live, hopefully by the time this goes out. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to get stuck into. Every time I talk about it, I'm beaming. I really am excited to get stuck in. And I'm hoping, can I pray? I'm not a religious man necessarily. I'm more of a spiritual man. Can I pray to the gods? That's a separate pray. That enough people come on board and I can give it a good go. I've got my savings. I've got a lot of savings. I can do this for a good few months and we'll see where we're at. I just want to give it a go. And hopefully you do too.